Hey everybody, welcome to my suburban oasis. My name's Soleil and I garden in a Zone 6A in mid-Michigan, and today is our day for our garden tour and walkabout. I have to tell you, I really meant to get out in the garden this week, but unfortunately because we got a lot of rain, again we had a day where it just poured all day long. That was one of the days I planned to get out, and the other day it was just covered in mosquitoes. So we've gotten a little bit better, so hopefully today we'll be able to get through the garden tour without having to have any mosquito spray on and just enjoy the outdoors. And it's been getting cooler. We're in the 70s today, and this weekend we're going to be too. So I think it's going to be a really nice time to be out in the garden, and I plan to do just that and hopefully bring you guys along with me. All right, well, let's take a look at how things are doing. So I did have the opportunity to get out in the garden a little bit today anyways. Not a whole lot, but just enough to do a little bit of cleanup. And I cleaned up some of the lilies that we had over here. The daylilies had some of the old stems from the old blooms, and so I cleaned those up. But really right now, can you just see all of the beautiful millennium alliums? Oh, they look so beautiful with the hydrangeas right now. It's just a beautiful mixture of color and form, and I just am loving the colors because they're so like pastel and light, and we've been going through the summers and it's been very bright, and it's just really welcome right now. We'll show you the incredible hedge over here that we have, which is just a few. And they are all limey at this point, so it's a really great time for me to pick them if I wanted to dry some for, decorating this winter. And I'll also show you our Pugster pink butterfly bush over here, which some people have said actually can be kind of prolific, and I did actually get a seedling this year. So here's a baby, and I will probably dig that up and either pot it up or give it away to someone because I'm not sure I have room for another butterfly bush, but we'll see. Maybe I can find some room. Anyhow, I am loving this view over here. This is the favorite part of the garden this time of year because of all of the millennium alliums and the ability to just kind of watch all of the pollinators enjoy it as well, because they just hover all over them. Let's take a look at some. Now, as the day goes on and it gets cooler and the wind comes out, as it is right now, there's less than there were earlier, but there's still plenty of them on them. And isn't the Limelight looking great back here? I didn't think we would get such big blooms on it its first year. We just planted this last fall and it's magnificent. So I think that's going to really add some nice needed height next year even. It's just great. Now, I did also have to do a little emergency prune on my hydrangeas because we did get, like I said, another really significant bit of storm, and so it came with a lot of wind and a lot of rain, and as such it pushed the blooms down again. But I trimmed some off and it has started to rebound quite a bit, so I'm really happy with that, and I've left the majority of the blooms on. I think I cut off about maybe 8 or 9 blooms. You can see some small holes where they were, but not too bad at all. It still maintains its shape really well, and just lots of color and fluff to look at still. I feel like the hydrangea clouds are in full force right now. Everything in the long border is looking really healthy, and again, because of so much rain, I think that's also really helped. We're even getting another set of blooms on the Violet Riot down here, this salvia. So that looks great, and we're seeing some more blooms from the phlox over here. These are the ultra pink phlox. Yeah, I just got bit by a mosquito. Well, I had wishful thinking. Now we're starting to see the bloom heads on this autumn joy sedum get bigger and bigger and flesh out as we see these beautiful butterfly bushes. This is the Pugster blue. And we'll just take a look down at the end of the pool here. I don't know how well you can see the hibiscus because the sun's been going under the clouds and we've been getting a whole bunch of wind. I think we're getting a, what do you call it, a cold front coming through. So some of the hibiscus blooms have closed, but I put up a picture on Instagram so you can see them during midday when they're really, really in full force, and they look gorgeous when they are. You can see we're really starting to get some of the gold on these arborvitae topiaries that we had as they put on new growth, so that's been great. And over here we have some amazing looking Firelight hydrangea with a geranium coming through it, which is the Roseanne geranium. Isn't that beautiful combination? Almost every year that happens. I don't know how much longer it will last, as this Firelight will get much larger and taller probably. So some of the phlox are starting to go over from last week. The blooms are starting to kind of be out of their prime. So I've come through and some of them have had some powdery mildew because of all of the rain and just cut them back all the way down to the ground. So we'll see some of that throughout the garden. I just don't want the powdery mildew to continue to get worse. Wow, it got really windy all of a sudden. It's not supposed to rain or anything, but just look at that. So this is a Firelight as well. And our blooms are starting to go over on the April night salvia that's in front of that. Now I have come through and done some of the trimming on these hosta blooms that were past their prime, and we'll be doing some dividing this fall on all of these August moon hostas because of how large they've gotten. I may even be removing some of the giant hostas that are in this. It's possible that I divide them, but I've just been thinking about trying to make room for the pieris, because the pieris have put on so much nice new growth this year that I want to give them plenty of room. So for example, this one over here has got a lot of hosta foliage that's just kind of covering it up and making it hard for it to grow. So I really want those long term. And the hostas really were more of a filler plant for while the pieris were kind of putting on their initial growth. And now that they have, I want to get them filled out. So you can see that our little haughty hydrangeas look gorgeous right now in this area of the garden. And I think they look so pretty with this hosta and the polemonium. This garden bed right here is just looking peak right now. All of the golden Hakona clover grass is really bringing a nice pop to the garden still. It definitely stands out in the shade. And as we walk down this path, the other thing that brightens it up is that striptease hosta, but that also is a hosta that's been getting larger and larger. And so I've had it in place for several years, probably about 4 years, and I need to dig it up and probably divide it. As you can see, some of the Japanese ferns are trying to come through, but they really don't have that much space to grow. So this is, as I said earlier this year, a year of editing in the garden, and I've been waiting for the proper time to do it. But this weekend is going to be a really good time to get after some of those tasks because it will be nice and cool. Just look at the planters at the end of the pool here with the magenta petunias. They really have filled out. I probably will need to cut them back soon. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'm actually starting to think that it won't be too long before we have to do some fall planters, which I am looking forward to, even though I don't want summer to end. Doesn't the lawn look amazing? My husband has done a great job with it, and the rain has just really continued to fall here. And so even though we have mosquitoes, we also have beautiful green grass. And it really does set the garden off, doesn't it? Over here, I definitely have some cleanup to do on these hostas, but that's okay. Getting a nice new little bloom on the top of that hydrangea. And our pink diamond tree is looking beautiful. Everything just kind of hanging out in this garden bed. It has just withstood the test of time this year, and definitely enjoying the colors that it has brought, as well as just kind of the calming effect of the hydrangeas. I probably am going to take out this phlox because the other one that I planted in here, I planted a couple others. They didn't do so well. So it just kind of looks random in this garden bed. So I want to take that out for sure. The purple plum trees look great. Those are the thundercloud plum trees. And you can see how we use that as an accent color throughout the garden between the 9-bark and the plum tree and the ajuga at the base. And then the boom chocolate geranium brings that same color throughout the garden as well for repetition. The groundhog has been eating my tomatoes, unfortunately. I've got some that are up too high, I think, for him. I don't think he can climb it, but he might be able to actually pull the vine down. We'll see. I've got them staked up pretty good here. Our strawberry Sunday hydrangea looks really beautiful over here in this corner. And I just want to point out to you that I finally got a clematis bloom over here. I'm not sure which one this is. I'm going to have to look it up. But this one has been here for 2 years now, and it's finally blooming, so I'm really excited about that. You can see we have lots of alyssum growing all over the paths in this potager here, and I'm going to have to come through and cut those back because we're having, if we're going to have the cool season upon us, the alyssum will really love that and continue to grow. Just take a little look at our little limes over here, looking great in this corner. And let's head out into the front garden. And this side is looking great because I can't believe it, but my quick fire is finally blooming, and it doesn't look much like a quick fire at all. I didn't fire up quick, and its blooms don't look like a quick fire, but that's what it's supposed to be. So we'll see as it ages if it looks a little more like one. It looks a little more like a Firelight to me, or something else. As usual, the bird bath garden is looking lovely. And so you can see that with these hydrangeas added to this garden, it really is adding a little bit more height, just starting to add that height and a little bit more interest to the garden. So once we start to get things that are up and above both the hose reel and the air conditioning unit, I think it will begin to feel more gardeny and a little bit less like utilities. Look at how much this variegated sage has grown this year. Isn't that gorgeous? And the verbena has just stood the test of time. This phlox is starting to open, and my word, it smells so wonderful. So here's another Limelight right here. Has smaller blooms than the one in the back garden, but this one we just planted last year as well. This one gets a little less water, has a little less fertile soil over here. Our blue corner is doing really good. Check out that grass. It's starting to shoot up its spikes, and we're getting some lavender spikes as well. So I would like to plant my other Niagara Falls, which is this blue pine. It's a white pine that looks blue. It's gorgeous, and it's weeping. So, and it's dwarf, so it grows really small. It only gets to about 4 by 4. So I'm thinking about bringing another one out into this garden bed because obviously the deer will not eat it like they eat these hostas. Now the new garden bed over here, hopefully I'm not making you dizzy, is actually looking even better than last week. Because we've had so much rain, I chose not to actually pull these hostas this year because they have remained very healthy looking. I don't think that's going to be the case long term, but this year I've just, you have to prioritize things in the garden. So this year I've decided just to leave them because I think they're going to make it all the way through the summer. You can see we're starting to get some of the blooms on the newly planted dianthus this year. And this Gatsby Moon hydrangea has just done really, really well. I'm probably going to need to protect that from the deer during the winter this year. Check out the blooms on this Sonic Bloom Weigela. Isn't this pretty? I love it. And we've got some really great plumes on the purple fountain grass. Now in our sunbed over here, some of the work I'll probably be getting to in the garden that we talked about last week is these daisies and deadheading those. I don't usually take them all the way back down to the ground unless the foliage really doesn't look good. So I'll probably just be popping the tops off, but I'll try to take you along for a video with that if I can. And then I'll also be coming through and probably deadheading this oak leaf hydrangea because its blooms have really browned up. Now you can leave them as ornamental display if you want to, but I'm going to cut them off because I think it just looks better that way and cleaner, and then you can really enjoy the foliage as it turns color in the fall. And we have some beautiful millennial alliums in this garden bed as well. Uh-oh, I'm seeing some baby tulip trees. I'm gonna have to pull those. Those get to be like 50 feet tall. They're such a massive tree. Our Dreamland geraniums are blooming pretty well. Usually these bloom in the spring, but we had so much rain they were not doing well at that time. Here's another baby tulip tree right here. Man, those things get huge. And a baby walnut tree. Boy, you guys, a couple weeks in the garden and suddenly, not in the garden, and suddenly everything's taking over. Oof. Well, you can see we're getting close to having some blooms on these autumn joy sedums. I'm going to harvest the Schubertii seed heads because you can see they're nice and dry now. They're starting to open and you can see the seeds in them. That makes them really easy to pull this time of year. And they're really nice for decorating with in the fall or even in the winter time. You can spray paint them if you want to, do whatever you want. And you can just see all of the purple coneflower in this border, which the pollinators also adore. So the long border over here is looking beautiful because the Millennium Alliums are shining out here as well, just joining up and teaming up with the purple coneflowers for some beautiful color. And popping right over the top of everything is our white rose back here. Isn't that gorgeous coming through? So that's nice. Maybe those will fill in well when I take these viburnums out this fall. And we have some gorgeous blooms on our Beliza pink Gara right here. And you can see the mums are starting to really take off this week. But they're definitely not at peak. It's just gotten cool and so they've started to bloom. It's kind of crazy to see this time of year. Now look at the seed heads and the glorious movement in those grasses right now. Isn't that beautiful? And our false cypress is doing really good. It's so healthy. I'm so glad we had as much rain as we did, because it really helped establish that plant underneath of this crabapple tree. You know, otherwise it would have been really competing for the root space. Now we also have our little Henry Sweetspires over here that are along the edge of this path now that the Liatris hedge has gone over. The bunnies have been coming through and nipping all of them off. You can see them on the ground here. I came through the other side and picked them up, and almost all of the seeds fell off. So I have a feeling I'm going to have a lot of baby Liatris in this path next year, no matter what I do. Now, as we are back here in this garden space, you can see I have a couple of spikes of some really serious growth on that viburnum there. I'm going to cut that back at least a few feet, just because even though it blooms on old wood, I really just want to take that down from being right up there at the eaves, because that's not good for the plant or for the eaves. So, but our burning bush is looking great. I can't wait to see it potentially change color this fall. It stayed really good as this tree form, and I've enjoyed the bark as it's changed too. Just look at the colors on that. Well, everybody, thanks so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this video and that you'll join me for the next one. We'll see you then.